I opened the safe. Among old bundles of papers, passports, savings books, there was a red paper with a seal, my signature on it. A house sale document. I looked at it for a long time, until the ink seemed to blur before my eyes. Then I called, trembling. Charles. He stepped out from the living room, shirt crisp, tie neat, still holding a cup of coffee. "What's wrong, Mom?" His voice was casual, as if asking about breakfast. I held up the paper. "What is this?" He glanced at it, then shrugged. "The house sale contract." I signed it. I froze, my hands dropping. "You sold my house." He replied without blinking. "Yours, mine, it's all this house. I have the right. You live alone, what's the point of keeping it?" I stepped back, my voice breaking. "Charles, this is your father's heritage, it's the memory of our whole family." "Father's dead, Mom." His voice was ice cold. "For a long time." I sat down on the chair, my hands interlocked, trying to stay calm. "You can do whatever you want, but why did you forge my signature?" He let out a short laugh, a half-smile thin as a blade. "You worry too much. If you had signed from the start, I wouldn't have had to forge it." I looked at my son, couldn't recognize him anymore. Those eyes once bright as a small sky, now only a dark, dense abyss. "What have you done, Charles?" He pulled another stack of files from his briefcase, threw it on the table, a dry, hard thud. "This is the consent form. Sign it. Don't make things hard for me." "Hard for you?" I burst out laughing, tears streaming. "You're robbing your mother." He snapped. "Robbing? Who do you think pays for you, who pays the hospital bills when you're sick? Where do you think the money comes from? Selling the house is for you." I looked at my son, each word breaking in my mouth. "No, Charles. It's for you. Because you're in debt. Because you borrowed money under my name." He stepped closer, the space between us only a breath away. His eyes cold as steel. "Don't talk about that here. You don't understand." I backed away, hitting the table edge. "Don't come near me." He smirked. "I'm just trying to help you. Sign it. You don't want people to laugh that you were thrown out on the street, do you?" I clutched the form tight, my voice shaking. "I won't sign. Never." Charles bent down, snatched the paper from my hands. I screamed, tried to hold on, but he was stronger. The paper tore in half. He looked at me, his eyes flickering with a dull rage. "You're old. You don't know what's good anymore." He held up the remaining half, his voice icy. "If you sign now, I'll still save your face. Don't make me force you." "Force?" I choked. "What are you going to do to me?" He didn't answer. He just walked to the safe, opened the lower drawer, took out the wooden box where I kept my husband's photos. I rushed over, grabbed it, but he lightly pushed my shoulder just enough to make me lose balance, almost fall. "Don't touch it." I screamed. "It's just an old box, Mom. Why keep it?" I hugged the box to my chest, as if it were the last piece of my soul. "I keep it because inside are memories, things you don't have." He looked at me, eyes empty. "Tomorrow morning I'll be back. By then, you'll have signed, the nursing home car will come." "Nursing home?" I stared blankly. "You're really sending me away?" "I'm not sending you away. I'm moving you somewhere better. There are doctors, medicine, people to talk to. No love." I said softly. He turned away. "Pity doesn't buy anything, Mom." That sentence was like a stone thrown into my heart, echoing coldly through my chest. Outside, Mary knocked softly, her voice trembling. "Elena, I heard noise, are you okay?" Charles spun around, shouted. Go home. This is family business. I tried to smile, my hand covering the scratch on my wrist. It's okay, Mary. But my smile was twisted, trembling like someone shivering from cold. Charles stepped closer, placed a pen on the table, pushed it toward me. Sign it, Mom. Don't make me lose my temper. I looked at him, tears flowing, my voice choked. You once lay in my arms, drank my milk, cried for me, how can you look at me like a stranger now? He leaned down, looking at me from above, eyes empty of emotion. Because I grew up. And adults must choose what's worth keeping, Mom. I trembled, every breath tight. What's worth keeping? So you choose money. And your mother is just a burden. He turned away, didn't deny it. The door closed. The lock sounded like a coffin lid sealing shut. I collapsed into the chair. My hand still clutched the torn paper. Blood from my palm dripped onto it, spreading like a stain that couldn't be washed away. I whispered, hoarse. You don't need a knife to kill a mother. Just a piece of paper, and a cold-hearted child. I clenched the paper, looked at the dried blood, whispered like an oath. I won't sign. Even if it kills me, I won't sign. The next morning, as soon as I opened my eyes, I heard the lock turning. Charles walked in, without knocking, without greeting. In his hands were a folder and several brightly colored brochures. I'm back, Mom. I found the 3 best places for you. His voice was gentle, but inside it was something cold and hard like metal. I still sat on the chair, my body heavy from a sleepless night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the house paper, saw my son's hand grabbing the keys, saw his eyes empty like a stranger's. He spread the 3 brochures on the table, spoke quickly, eagerly, like negotiating a business deal. Here, look, Lucille Springs Care Center, St. Joseph's Home, and Sunnyvale Home. All 3 are high-end, have doctors, private caregivers. You choose. I looked. 3 pictures, 3 old people smiling in the sun, nurses bending down gently. All so bright they looked fake. I said softly, beautiful pictures. But I know, the light in photos can't save the souls in real life, son. Charles didn't hear, or pretended not to. St. Lucy's is the best. Near the sea, has flowers, a private room. You'll like it. He smiled, trying to look relaxed. But in his eyes, only restlessness. I asked quietly, have you signed with them yet? Yes. One word, heavy as a stone dropped into water. I looked up, my voice shaking, you signed for me? He answered, they only need confirmation. The rest you'll sign today. I fell silent. Then said softly, each word broken. Don't force me. He frowned. Don't say that. I'm just taking care of you. I laughed, hoarse and dry. Taking care of me? By selling my house and sending me away? Charles put the brochure down, his voice starting to harden. Don't say, sending away. You're old, I can't take care of you. At the home they'll do it. Isn't that better? I stood up. I don't need anyone to take care of me. I need my home. That house isn't yours anymore. He blurted out, then fell silent. I looked straight at him. What did you just say? He avoided my eyes. The papers are done. I did it for you. Don't think badly. Badly? I repeated, my heart tight in my chest. You forged my signature, took my house, locked me in a home and call that good? Charles was silent, his face stiff. I saw in those eyes the numbness of someone who'd gone too far. I whispered, almost begging. My son, don't do this. I beg you. Let me stay, even just a corner. This is my home, your father's home. He sighed, then suddenly raised his voice. You always say, home, home, home. This house has been suffocating me for years. I'm so tired, don't you understand? I stared, shocked. You're tired, because of me? He turned away, didn't answer. Then he walked quickly to the closet, opened it, took out my old suitcase. Sit still, I'll pack. The longer you stay here, the harder it gets. I grabbed the closet handle, trying to stop him, but he yanked hard. Enough, Mom! He shouted. You want to stay here and wait for the debt collectors? Can you handle that? I shook my head, tears falling before I could wipe them. Stop talking. Don't be like this. But he kept going. You don't know. I worry for you, for the debts. I have no choice. I whispered, yes. You can choose not to betray. Charles froze, then exhaled. He bent down, stuffed my clothes into the suitcase, one by one, fast and hard. The sound of the zipper slid sharp like the line splitting mother and son. I stood still, my hand gripping the chair, my voice trembling. What are you going to do? Take you to St. Lucie? No. I'm not going. You have to go. I shook my head, stepping back. Charles, don't do this. I'm begging you. Begging me? He snapped, his eyes lighting up with anger. I've been begging you for years. I begged you to sell the house, you refused. I begged you to make things easier for me, you wouldn't listen. Now it's my turn to decide. I backed up until my shoulders hit the wall. There was nowhere left to go. You're not the child I gave birth to anymore, I whispered. He didn't answer. He just gripped the suitcase tightly, walked to the door, and said in a firm, low voice. The car's waiting. Let's go. I stayed still. Didn't speak. Didn't cry. He turned back to me. I don't want to raise my voice. But don't make this hard. You know I'll do it. I looked at my son, the boy I once held through fevers, the one I used to lull to sleep with old songs. Now, he was lulling me out of his life with that flat, measured tone. I gave a faint smile, stepped closer, and whispered. You think sending me away ends it? You can take my house, but you'll never take my memories. He didn't respond. He turned his back, opened the door wider, and said coldly. Let's go, Mother. Don't make me angry. My hand trembled on the chair's armrest. My fingers brushed over the spot where my husband had once carved E&A. I felt my blood turn cold. Then I walked out, each step heavy as stone, not from fear, but from knowing I was leaving myself behind. Charles opened the car door, his voice urgent. Get in, Mom. I stood still, looking up at the sky. Do you even know what you're doing? He spoke softly, almost whispering. Think of it as me saving you. I stepped into the car. The door shut. The engine started. The car turned off the familiar street, leaving behind the window where I had lived my whole life. I looked back, the little house grew smaller in the mirror. All that remained was a pale blur. Just like my heart, wiped clean, hollow, and with no place left to return to. The car stopped before a large white iron gate. A sign above read. Lucille Springs Care Center, where the elderly are loved. Loved? The word stung. Charles turned to me with a strained smile. We're here, Mom. This place is really good. I stayed silent. The gate slid open on its track, the screech of metal dragging out like the sigh of fate itself. A tall man in a gray suit, his smile carefully rehearsed, came out to greet us. Mrs. Elena, welcome to St. Lucie. I'm Mr. Reeves, the director. I shook his hand. It was cold. Mr. Reeves spoke smoothly, like reading from a brochure. Here, you'll be well cared for. We treat every resident like family. Charles stood beside him, nodding slightly, his tone soft, almost coaxing. See, Mom. I told you, this place is great. You can relax here. I'll come back after I sort things out. I looked at my son, searching for a trace of guilt. But his face showed only tired determination. You don't have to hurry back. I can take care of myself. No, I have a meeting right now. He avoided my eyes. Please, just trust me. They'll take good care of you. Then he left. I watched his back grow smaller, until it disappeared behind the trees. Only me, my suitcase, and Mr. Reeves's thin smile remained. Let's go inside, Mrs. Elena. You'll like it here. I pulled my suitcase along, the wheels squeaked against the glossy floor. Mr. Reeves pointed at each room, his voice steady, mechanical. This is the music therapy room, that's the reading room. Everyone listens to Mozart every morning. The music keeps the mind calm. And at night? I asked. He paused a split second, then smiled again. At night, we keep things quiet so everyone can rest peacefully. Everything is perfectly safe. At the end of the hallway, a young nurse walked past. Her eyes flicked toward me just for a second, but in that glance, I saw fear. My room was on the second floor, facing the back garden. White bed, wooden wardrobe, pale green curtains, everything spotless, bright, precise. Lights out at 9 p.m. After that, we locked the doors for safety. Lock them? I asked. Mr. Reeves nodded. We don't want anyone wandering off. At this age, memory can betray us. His words made me shiver. That first night, I couldn't sleep. Around midnight, I heard something. At first faint, a dragging sound. Then a loud thud. Then a hoarse scream. Don't, please don't. I sat up, heart pounding. The sound came from the end of the corridor. I opened my door slightly, peering out. The lights were dim, hazy. A nurse was pushing a metal cart. On it lay a small frail woman, her mouth gagged with a white cloth. She struggled, her eyes wild with terror. Let me go. I'm not going anywhere, she tried to scream through the cloth. Shoo, easy now, the nurse whispered, gripping the cart tighter. Then they vanished around the corner. I froze. No one shouted. No one came out. Only the faint sound of wheels rolling away, fading into silence. A silence so thick it swallowed even my breath. The next morning, Mr. Reeves knocked. Good morning, Mrs. Elena. Did you sleep well? I looked straight at him. I heard someone screaming last night. What happened? He smiled. Ah, just Mrs. Vance. She has war nightmares. Happens often. Nothing to worry about. I heard a cart being pushed. Mr. Reeves kept smiling, perfect as ever. We took her to the infirmary for a checkup. No big deal. I said nothing. But unease spread through me like oil. At breakfast, I saw an old woman by the window, white hair, blank eyes. I greeted her softly, have you been here long? She answered slowly, eyes never leaving the sky. Long enough to forget why I'm still alive. Later that afternoon, I saw Mr. Reeves walking down the hall with a man in a black suit. I hid behind a half-open door. They spoke in low voices. 2 more patients, the transfer papers are done. Good. Your share stays the same. I froze. Transfer papers. Your share. Those words echoed in my head like funeral bells. Mr. Reeves turned and saw me. Mrs. Elena, why aren't you resting? I was just walking. Walking in the hallway. His smile sharpened, heavier. I lowered my head and hurried away. That night, I refused to sleep. Around 10 p.m., the lights went out. From the next room came a hiss. I pressed my ear to the wall. Metal scraping. A faint moan. Then a voice, weak and pleading. Please, no more injections. I opened my door a crack and peered out. A pale green light flickered. An old man lay on the bed, his wrists tied with cloth straps. I'm sorry. I can't help you, a nurse's voice murmured. I stepped back, covering my mouth to stifle a gasp. The door closed. The hissing resumed sharp, cold. I looked up at the ceiling and whispered to myself. Charles, this is the best place you meant. In the darkness, my husband's voice echoed in memory. Don't let anyone take your dignity, Elena. I whispered back. My love. I think they already are. And for the first time, I realized St. Lucie wasn't an ending. It was the beginning of a gentle hell. Early morning. Mr. Reeves entered without knocking. Gray suit, heavy cologne, and a smile trimmed like a blade. Good morning, Mrs. Elena. He placed a stack of papers on the table, his tone light as air. We just need a few small signatures, routine financial updates. I stared at the papers. What kind of updates? I thought my son handled everything. Yes, Charles was very thorough, he said smoothly. But the new regulations, you know. The resident must reconfirm. Just a signature, that's all. I didn't touch the papers. Where exactly am I signing? Mr. Reeves sat across from me, opening the file. His finger tapped gently on the page, a steady rhythm, patient, like a clock counting down. Here. Right here. We just need your signature confirming that the secured assets have been transferred properly. Lines of text stretched long and cold, full of banking terms. But amid them, my eyes caught a few words. Secured assets, withdrawal authorization, automatic transfer. I drew a slow breath, my voice sinking low. Mr. Reeves, what happens if I don't sign? He looked up. He smiled. A short smile, and in it, I saw the shadow of a threat. It's nothing, Mrs. Elena. We never force anyone. But if you do not sign, the home will not receive support from your family. Then, he tilted his head, you will have to move to the basic ward. There, the rooms are small, the beds are iron, the air is cold, but, you can still live. I pressed my lips together, trying to stay calm. So that means, if I don't sign, you will punish me? Punish? Mr. Reeves laughed, leaning back in his chair. Oh, no. We only follow procedure. I laid the pen on the table, looking straight at him. Your procedure is to make the elderly sign papers that lose their house, lose their money, right? The smile on his lips did not change, but his eyes darkened. Mrs. Elena, you are stressed. I understand. At your age, paperwork can be confusing. But believe me, it's all for your benefit. Benefit? I laughed, voice choked. Do you think I'm so stupid I don't know what authorization to withdraw funds means? Mr. Reeves fell silent. The room seemed to thicken. Then he deliberately pushed the pen toward me. Think about it. I'll leave the pen here. Don't make things harder for yourself. I took the pen, pretending my hand trembled. All right, but I need reading glasses. My eyes are poor. He shrugged, stood up. Of course. I'll be back in a few minutes. I knew what he wanted was not the signature. He wanted my soul, whatever was left after Charles had sold the house. At noon, in the common room, the TV was loud. On the screen was a feature about St. Lucie, old people smiling brightly, holding hands, the background music soft as a spring breeze. I watched and let out a hoarse laugh. Even hell can smile. Beside me, the young nurse, the one with the scared eyes I had seen before, came near and put down a tray of medicine. She bowed her head, whispered so quickly it was like wind. Mrs. Elena, don't sign anything else. I saw Mr. Reeves photocopy your papers. They use your name to borrow money. I froze. What did you say? I have no proof. But I saw it clearly. He laughed, said, "This old woman is easy. I'm so scared." I gripped her hand, said softly, "Thank you, my child. But don't let anyone see you talking to me. Be careful." She nodded, eyes wet, then left. I sat back down, alone. The air in the room was suffocating. Charles, Mr. Reeves, they didn't just betray me. They turned me into a tool, a living seal to legitimize their crimes. In the afternoon, Mr. Reeves returned, this time with a fat man wearing gold-rimmed glasses. "This is a bank representative," Mr. Reeves said, voice syrupy. "We need signature confirmation. It'll be quick." I smiled, trying to seem gentle. "So, it really is about money." Mr. Reeves paused slightly, then smiled again. "Don't worry, everything is legal." I pretended my hand trembled, flipped through the papers. "My handwriting is terrible, maybe your bankers won't be able to read it." They all laughed, at ease. I scrawled nonsense on another sheet, meaningless scribbles, then pushed it back. "There, signed. Are you happy now?" Mr. Reeves glanced over, nodded, a flicker of satisfaction in his eyes. But in my head, a plan was being drawn, would not die here. I would make him pay. Night fell. I opened the drawer, pulled out the paper from this morning. The desk lamp threw light on the bold printed line. Elena Lawson secured loan. Under it, a cold bank number. ACCT, number 41287952216. I was stunned, had to brace my hands on the bed frame. So they had borrowed money in my name. I shakily opened my notebook, wrote quickly. "Must find Nathan. My husband's lawyer. The only one still trustworthy." I suddenly thought of Charles, my son. He once held my hand when I was little, cried when he fell. Now, he holds papers, and pushes me into a pit. I gripped the pen, whispered. "Charles, if this is how you care for me, then prepare to see me rise." The next morning, Mary called, voice panicked. "Elena. Have you heard? Charles told the relatives that you're losing your mind. That you signed a loan and ran off." I let out a laugh, a cracked laugh, pain so sharp it tasted like blood. "He's scripting it. Now he only needs me to disappear." "Ma'am, I can ask my friend at the bank to check, but it's dangerous." "Good. Do it. And remember, don't trust anyone who speaks for me." In the afternoon, Mr. Reeves entered without knocking. "Mrs. Elena, I heard you contacted outsiders. That is not allowed here." I stood up, looked straight at him. "Not allowed, or are you afraid?" His eyes flashed. "I only fear you will complicate things more." "Complicate what?" I stepped closer, voice cold. "That I was turned into a debtor. Or that you used my signature to sell." Mr. Reeves laughed. A thin smile like a razor blade. "Mrs. Elena, don't insult the person caring for you." "Caring?" I snapped. "You give me pills to forget, lock my door every night, and call that care?" He paused half a second, then turned away casually. "You should rest. Old people talk nonsense when tired." I watched him go, stunned. But inside me, a fire had sparked, not of rage, but of clarity. That night, I hid the medicine in my scarf, then lay listening to the wind. A week later, Mrs. Vance disappeared. No one asked. No one spoke. On the nameplate in the hallway, her name had been erased white. I touched that empty space, whispered. "Don't worry, I will speak for you." That evening, I wrote a letter to Mary. "If I disappear, tell Nathan that it all started at St. Lucie. And don't trust Charles." The young nurse came to collect the letter. Her eyes were red. "I'm so scared." I gripped her hand, said softly. Don't be afraid. When people dare to be afraid, they have already dared to begin. Outside the window, yellow light spilled onto a wall painted with white letters. Love is care. I stared at that line for a long time, then whispered. No. Love is not imprisonment. I looked at myself in the mirror. Hair silvered, eyes hollowed but the gaze, sharp as a blade. I whispered to myself. Elena is no longer a victim. She will strike back. I began to wake from the trance called sacrifice. For years I believed that loving enough would heal every wound. But at St. Lucie, I realized love cannot save you when people treat you as merchandise. Every morning, I sat by the small window, watching the sun rise from the sea. I looked at it, feeling as if I saw the edge of freedom. Inside me, something moved a slow, fierce warm blood. I whispered to myself. All right, if you want to treat me like an item. I will teach this item to bite back. I began to observe. Who talks with whom at breakfast? Who walks the halls at shift change? When the admin door opens, who holds the keys? I memorized everything, every small detail like a hair. Mr. Reeves moved on a schedule: 8 a.m., 4 p.m., 9 p.m. night check. When he left, the scent of expensive perfume always lingered, mixed with the smell of disinfectant. A scent both luxurious and filthy. That morning, as soon as the housekeeping staff left, I opened the drawer and took the file Mr. Reeves had given me the first day. The red stamp. But the lower corner was off, the ink smudged. I brought it close to my eyes and that smudge, a small letter, B, appeared, not part of the genuine seal in the hallway. I froze. God, I whispered. They forged the seal too. I burst into a laugh, hoarse, hurried, a mix of fear and fury. In that laugh, I heard my own voice, but of someone else, alert, cold, and dangerous. At noon, when Lara the young nurse brought the medicine, I purposely let my hand tremble, voice weak. Lara, were you on duty the night of the 15th? She looked up, flustered. For what? There was an incident that night. There were screams from room 12. I need to know who was on duty. My voice was small but firm, not trembling at all. Lara glanced around, then said softly. I'll check, but if they find out, I'll lose my job. I placed my hand over hers, squeezed lightly. Sometimes, to keep one's soul, one must dare to lose a job. She fell silent, then nodded. A small nod, but real. That night, when the whole home fell silent, Lara appeared. She slipped the door closed, handed me a folded quarter sheet of paper, trembling. I wrote in pencil, less likely to be noticed. I opened it. The handwriting was messy, small, but clear. Night shift on the 15th, Mr. Reeves supervisor, Marta assistant nurse, Gregory security. Incident in room 12, Vance. I looked up, my heart pounding. Vance, the name rang in my head like a bell. The woman who screamed that night had been transferred, and no one ever saw her again. I spoke softly, my voice trembling. Thank you, Lara. This is the first piece. She looked at me, fear and trust mixed in her eyes. What are you going to do? I'm going to live. The next day, Mr. Reeves was busy in a meeting. I pretended to lose my way and wandered down to the administrative wing. His office door was slightly open. His voice came through the phone low, but every word distinct. Yes, transfer the remaining amount to the account under Elena Lawson before Monday. I'll handle the verification papers. I froze. My heart stopped for a second. He said my name. I glanced at his desk. There was a stack of papers, the top one a copy of a bank transfer. And in the top right corner, I saw a familiar number. ACCT, number 41287952216. The very same account number printed on the paper I had hidden under my pillow. He turned his back to pour coffee. In that instant, I rushed forward, tore off the corner of the receipt, and stuffed it into my sleeve. My heart pounded so hard it hurt my chest. When he turned around, I pretended to be confused, holding my stomach. Sorry. I must have gone the wrong way. Could you tell me how to get to the reading room? He looked at me, his smile thin as a blade. You should stay in your room. There are things here that aren't meant for the elderly. Yes, I said softly, then added, but sometimes, the elderly are the only ones still awake. I walked away slowly, but the hand inside my sleeve clenched the torn piece of paper tightly between two fingers. For the first time in weeks, I felt alive. That night, I opened my old notebook, the one my husband once used for expenses. I glued the torn paper inside and wrote with a pencil. Fake seal Mr. Reeves. Night shift on the 15th, Vance missing. Bank receipt transfer under my name. I looked at the notebook. Its cover was worn, the edges curled, but inside it beat like a small heart of justice. The next morning, the phone rang softly. I startled and picked it up. It's me, Mary. Her voice was low. Nathan reviewed the bank documents. There is a loan, in your name. But the signature doesn't look like yours at all. I gripped the phone, tears spilling down my cheeks. He believes me. He said he'll start an investigation. But you must be careful. They're hiding something. I smiled through the tears. Thank you, Mary. Finally, someone believes me. From that day on, I became an unseen eye inside St. Lucie. I recorded medicine hours. Shift changes. Names of those who came, those who left. I turned every fear into data. And the notebook, it grew thicker, becoming living evidence. One night, Laura came to me again. She was breathless, holding a stack of papers. These are the shift records for the last 3 months. I got them while Mr. Reeves wasn't in the office. I opened them. In the notes column, many lines were crossed out in red ink. In the middle of the page, I saw the words, Sunnyvale Home. I looked up, my voice hoarse. Laura, do you know what Sunnyvale Home is? Another nursing home, isn't it? No. It's one of the 3 places my son once mentioned, the best elderly care facilities. Mr. Reeves runs all 3. Her mouth dropped open. My God, they rotate the patients to erase the trail. Exactly. And every time someone transfers, the money goes into an account under my name. She gripped the paper, her eyes glistening. What do you want me to do? I need a copy of the staff list. I want to know who works for Mr. Reeves, and who works for the money. She was silent for a few seconds, then nodded faintly. I'm scared, but I'll try. 3 nights later. She came, trembling, holding a wrinkled payroll sheet. I got it. Look at the last line. I looked. A bold name stood there, C. Moore. I froze. Moore. My son's last name. The paper slipped from my hand, and I collapsed into the chair. Laura panicked. Are you all right? I choked out. Charles. He's on St. Lucie's payroll. The air thickened. I stared at the paper as if staring into a grave. My son really sold me. Laura burst into tears. But I had none left. Only one thought remained, cold and sharp as steel. You counted every dollar. I'll count every day until you fall. I pressed the notebook to my chest, listening to my heartbeat. For the first time, it wasn't beating from fear but from resolve. I tucked the small notebook inside my blouse, tied it tight with fabric like sealing a vow. Every time I opened my eyes and looked around St. Lucie, I knew. Here, silence was a drug stronger than morphine. I knew that one scream would be silenced with drugs, with papers, or with an administrative accident. I couldn't afford a single mistake. A rainy morning. Cold, persistent rain like knives. Nathan arrived in a dark trench coat, an old leather briefcase in hand. He stood in the doorway for a moment, looking at me quietly. "You've lost weight," he said. "And you," I smiled faintly. "You look like a man about to enter a battle." He sat down, spreading the papers I gave him on the table. The torn receipt, the fake seal copy, the shift records. I spoke non-stop, afraid that if I paused, I would collapse. My voice trembled, but it was clear. "Mr. Reeves runs all 3 nursing homes. They rotate patients, forge documents, use my signature to take loans. And my son Charles Moore gets commissions." Nathan didn't interrupt. He just turned each page carefully, fingertips precise, eyes tracing every line of ink. Finally, he looked up, his voice low and firm. "You have 3 things I need: forged signature, fake seal, and bank transfer. Enough to open a criminal case. So, we have a chance?" I asked, voice choking. "Yes. But it has to stay quiet. They've got people in the bank, in the homes. If it leaks, you'll be the first to disappear." I was silent, then said softly. "Disappear? I've been gone from my own life for a long time. Not anymore." Nathan looked at me for a long while. In his gaze, there was a quiet respect. "You've done well, Elena. From now on, every step must be like walking on ice. I'll do my part. But you must stay alive." That afternoon, the rain still fell. Laura came in, drenched, hair plastered to her forehead. "Ma'am, I can't take it anymore," she said, her voice breaking. "Mr. Reeves made us sign fake reports for the transferred cases. I know they never left. I'm scared." I took her hand. "Laura, do you want to help me?" "Yes. But if they find out, I'll lose my job, everything." "You'll lose your soul if you stay silent," I said, my eyes fixed on hers. She took a deep breath, then nodded slowly. "Okay. I'll record the night meeting. The one where they divide the money. I know which room, what time." "You have a phone?" "Yes. Old, but it still records. Hide it inside your inner pocket. When they meet, leave it there. Don't look at anyone, don't react." She trembled. "If they suspect me, what do I do?" "Smile," I said. "Smile like the others do. Here, smiles are the cheapest masks." That night, I listened to Lara's footsteps fade down the corridor. Every sound made my heart jump. I sat by the bed, gripping the old cross not to pray, but to stop myself from shaking. The next morning, Lara came in, pale-faced. "Ma'am," she pulled a small USB drive from her blouse. "I got a few clips." I trimmed the noise. I plugged the USB into the small player Nathan had given me. Static crackled, then a man's rough voice came through, clear. "Transfer the funds to Moore. The rest goes under the old client's name. Mr. Reeves will handle the verification." A deep laugh followed, wet, vile. I trembled, looking up at Lara. "You heard that?" "Yes. I heard it clearly." "Moore, that's your son, isn't it?" I nodded, tears spilling, but my voice was cold as ice. "Yes. And now we have proof." I knew Mr. Reeves left papers on his desk during lunch. That day, I pretended to lose my way again, heart pounding like drums. The door was ajar. Inside, the smell of coffee mixed with printer ink. I slipped in, eyes scanning fast. On the desk, amid thick stacks of files, one page read. Asset, house number 14 Ocean Drive. Note, sold $120,000 transferred to C. Moore. I froze. My house, I muttered. Sold, and transferred to my son. Hearing footsteps, I quickly pulled the small camera from my pocket and snapped a shot. My hands shook, the picture blurred, but it captured all three: the address, the price, the name. Mr. Reeves entered just as I turned, pretending to be lost. "Mrs. Elena? What are you doing here?" "Oh. I was looking for the infirmary. I get lost easily." He stared at me, suspicion in his eyes, then smiled thinly. "There are many halls here. Be careful not to lose your way." I replied, "I'm only afraid of getting lost in a place with no way back." I left, my hand gripping the camera in my pocket, cold sweat soaking my back. Nathan received the photos, his eyes lit up. "Enough. This is proof they illegally sold the property. I'll send it to Paul, the reporter who worked with me on the bank case in 2018. He'll investigate." When Paul arrived, I didn't expect him to have eyes sharp as blades. After listening, he said briefly, "This isn't just property fraud. This is psychological torture. I'll help you. But silence, absolute silence. If the news leaks, they'll erase the evidence." I nodded. "I understand. I've lived in silence for too long. I can endure a bit more, but this time, silence is for attack." One night, a gentle knock on the door. The old caretaker Mr. Michael stood there, holding a USB drive, eyes darting around in fear. "Mrs. Elena. I don't want to be involved, but you should see this." He placed the USB in my hand and left as swiftly as the wind. Inside the files were photos of a money transfer receipt and a white truck's license plate, the same plate as the vehicle often used to transfer patients. I gasped, tears dropping onto the keyboard. "Thank you, Michael," I whispered, though he was gone. "We had everything." A recording of Mr. Reeves saying, "Send it to more." A photo of the house sale paper. Photos of the invoice, the truck's plate. A duty roster proving that transfers were fake. Nathan prepared the lawsuit. Paul wrote the confidential report. Laura continued recording. And I, the mother once treated like merchandise, was now the heart of the counterattack. The final night before submitting the files, Nathan said over the phone, "Elena, you've done what few at your age dare to do. You turned pain into a weapon." I replied, my voice hoarse. "Not a weapon, Nathan. Evidence. The one thing they can't kill." I hung up and looked in the mirror. In it, there was no longer the trembling woman from before. Only a pair of eyes, bright, deep, and cold as steel. I whispered, "You sold me for money. Now I'll trade your fear for justice." St. Lucie slept. But in its silence, a war had begun. I'll never forget that morning, the morning when police cars drove one after another into St. Lucie. I sat in the small room, hands trembling around a teacup, watching the live broadcast on TV. The home sign still hung there, "Where Love Returns," fluttering in the wind like a cruel mockery. Below it, staff members were handcuffed, heads bowed. In the middle was Mr. Reeves' no gray suit, no polished smile, only bare, exhausted eyes. The phone rang. "Nathan." Mr. Reeves was arrested for fraud, illegal detention, and embezzlement. And, he hesitated, Charles was also arrested. He confessed to taking commission money for persuading you to sell the house. I closed my eyes, took a long breath. "Thank you, Nathan." "No, Elena," his voice soft but firm, "you're the one who woke justice up." After he hung up, I sat still for a long time. Outside, light pierced through the curtains, breaking into faint golden lines. Justice had come, but joy wasn't whole. 2 months later, I was summoned as a witness at the trial. Charles sat in a glass booth, wearing a gray prison uniform. When I entered, he turned away, unable to look. Mr. Reeves stood beside him, still arrogant until the sentence was read. Defendant Mr. Reeves, 15 years in prison for fraud, illegal detention, and embezzlement. Defendant Charles Moore, 8 years in prison for complicity and property theft. The whole court fell silent. Charles bowed his head, his shoulders trembling. I looked at him, no hatred, no anger, only a deep sadness. When allowed a final word, he looked up, eyes red. I'm sorry, Mom. I thought I was just making things better. I was so foolish. I answered softly, voice shaking but calm. No, my son. You're not foolish. You just forgot that money can't replace love. I paused, looked straight at him. We're both prisoners, Charles. You behind bars, and I once in the cage of blind faith. Today, we're both free, each in our own way. Charles broke down in tears. Mr. Reeves lowered his head, silent. The judge's gavel fell. The sound echoed in my chest like the end of a long nightmare. A few weeks later, I received the property title back. The paper was cold, but in my hands, it felt warm like the flesh of a loved one long gone. I returned to that house, once a home, then sold, then stolen, now mine again. I touched every patch of old wall, every faded window frame. We're home, I whispered. The wind on the porch seemed to answer, home. Mary came, hugged me tight, eyes wet. You're still standing. I've never seen anyone as strong as you. Laura came too, bringing a bouquet of white daisies. I'm leaving the city, but before I go, I wanted to say. You saved me. I'm not afraid anymore. I smiled gently, placed a hand on her shoulder. Never be afraid, Laura. As long as one person stands up, the darkness must step back. After the case, I didn't return to the old loneliness. I visited the elderly who had been deceived, imprisoned in those model nursing homes. Their voices trembled as they spoke, and I listened. In each clouded eye, I saw my former self. And then, an idea took shape. I founded Key of Dawn, a support group for elderly victims of abuse and fraud. Nathan took care of the legal work, Paul helped with media, Laura sent documents from afar. On opening day, about 30 people came. They sat on simple wooden chairs, eyes bright in the morning light. I stood among them, speaking slowly. We can't take back the past. But we can take back our dignity. They once saw us as merchandise, but today, we call each other by name, by memory, by faith. The room burst into applause. Some cried. I cried too. Not tears of pain, but of liberation. Late afternoon. Sunlight slanted through the window, shining on the table where I placed my husband's photo. I said softly. Do you see, my love? Our house is now a place that saves others. A gentle breeze passed, stirring the candle flame. I thought I heard his voice. I'm proud of you, Elena. I smiled. For the first time, the smile came without tears. I lost my son, but I found myself again. I lost faith, but I found justice. And more importantly, I found friends who helped illuminate the darkness. Night fell. Outside, the streetlights lit up one by one. I stood by the window, hearing the soft laughter of the elderly in the yard, real laughter, not fake, not bought. I closed my eyes, breathed softly. Justice is not revenge. It's when people recognize the humanity they lost within themselves. I lit a small candle, the light touching the wooden board on the wall, carved with 3 words. Live to illuminate. And in that moment, I knew. After years living in darkness, the true dawn had finally come. My story is not only about betrayal, but a wake-up call to everyone. Never give your trust away completely and forget to keep the right to protect yourself. Love, no matter how sacred, cannot replace awareness. When filial piety is exploited, when the elderly are seen as burdens, silence becomes complicity. But as long as one person dares to stand up, the truth will shine. Justice not only punishes evil, it restores dignity to those who were denied it.